This Life with Amy Deane on Chiltern Voice.
Good afternoon. It's the Sunday before Christmas. Can you believe it? It's come up already so quickly. And I am here in the studio today with a wonderful guest. I'm so excited. If you listened last weekend, you'll know that I was talking about planning your new decade ahead and the planning for 2020, getting your goals lined up. I'm thinking possibly about doing that creatively with a vision board. Now, would you believe it? Somebody contacted me this week who is actually going to run a vision board workshop on the 4th of January in Chesham. I can't believe it. I'm so delighted to welcome Claira Lemel. Claira, welcome. Where's your microphone? It's way over there. Bring it to your face.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Good. Oh, Claira, thank you so much for coming in. And the just before Christmas as well. I'm so pleased you could make it.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Good. Well, I'm so excited about our conversation. I'm going to introduce Claira properly in a minute. But first of all, let's get Christmassy. What are we going to start with? A little bit of, it's got to be really, hasn't it? The king of Christmas songs, Michael Bublé.
Oh, perfect.
Here we go. Lovely Michael Bublé. Can't beat a bit of Bublé at Christmas, can you? And he is, of course, the king of Christmas with his wonderful Christmas album, which I think is the most popular album. Have you got that, Claira? Do you like a bit of Bublé?
I love a bit of Bublé.
Do you?
Never get enough of Mr. Bublé, I have to say. I went a bit cockney there, sorry.
Yeah, got a bit of Bublé. I think my sister and my sister-in-law went to see him recently. Oh. Yeah, my sister-in-law's crazy about Mr. Bublé, but he is rather lovely. So anyway, Claira, what brought you? How did it come you're running a vision board workshop on the 4th of January? How did that come about?
Well, I've been running vision board workshops for quite some time now, quite a few years in various establishments. And I've run one at Workaid, and I'll talk about that in a minute, because Workaid is a little gem of a place in Chesham, I must admit, if you've never been there. And I ran it last January, and it was really successful. And I thought, it's not just January that's really good to put a vision board out and to work on it and to have that time, but it's also a new decade.
Yes, exactly. That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, massive change. Yeah. And so January, February is a good time of year anyway to think about this. And so the 4th of January came up with Workaid. They had the space that's available, and I thought, great, let's get Christmas out of the way, have a fantastic Christmas, but then let's crack on.
I agree.
Think about the new year.
I absolutely agree, because you can talk about Christmas for so long, can't you? We all know it's coming. We all know what happens. We all keep our fingers crossed that nobody's going to fall out dramatically.
Yeah.
But then then suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
And before you know it, once your hangovers have recovered, then suddenly we're into a new year.
We certainly are, and a new decade, which is really exciting.
I agree with you.
Really exciting.
Yeah. So do you think that reflecting back first on what the previous decade, the current decade that we're just at the end of, is a good thing to do?
I have to say, Amy, I don't.
You don't? Oh, interesting. Good.
Not much. I do a bit.
Yeah.
Think, what can I learn from the things that have happened in the last 10 years? But also, I think it's important to move forward.
Yes.
Because people experience all sorts of things, difficult situations, tragedies, dramas, a lot of the time it's out of our hands. So it's really important to think, okay, what can I learn from these things that have happened? But how can I think about the future? So I'm all about looking ahead.
Yeah.
But of course you have to acknowledge what's happened in the past, and you have to have a nod to it, but not dwell on it too much. I think it's really...
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I do think sometimes that a little bit of just sort of, okay, so what did happen? Sometimes it's good to acknowledge yourself.
Yes.
For stuff that you've got through over the last decade.
Absolutely.
Because when I reflect back on my last decade, I think, oh my, I can't believe that was that long ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And that happened, and that happened, and that happened. And hey, I'm still here. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah.
So a little pat on the back, I think, is quite a good
Very
thing.
important.
Yeah.
I think we also tend to focus on the bad things and the negative things that may have happened to us. And it's so important to celebrate all our achievements, no matter how small.
Yes.
And
so perhaps we could reflect on, what have I achieved in the last decade? What are the things that I wanted to do that I have done, or things that I didn't expect to happen, which have happened?
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
can we can go in a different direction, can't we? Find ourselves.
Of course, it's really important to have that flexibility as well. 'Cause sometimes it's like when life throws you lemons.
Yes.
You make lemonade. But I think it's also important to, when people say achievements, I think it's important. It's not necessarily about I've got an amazing job or I've made a huge amount of money. It's more about personal achievements.
Yeah.
Which is really important to acknowledge and to celebrate.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, yes, exactly right, to celebrate those things that have maybe gone well or maybe gone better than we expected them to have gone.
Yeah.
Maybe it is at the beginning of last decade, I don't know, you weren't talking to somebody you love, but you'd fallen out and you didn't know how to resolve it. But now, at the end of the decade, actually you've resolved all that, and things are moving forward in a positive way.
Absolutely, and it's important to acknowledge that. So it's about balance. It's all about balance. That's what I always go on in all my classes. It's about balance. It's and to really nurture yourself and to look after yourself, because we all have that inner voice of berating ourselves and beating ourselves up.
Sure.
And it's so important to turn that voice into a nurturing voice, a kind voice.
Yeah.
So that's very much what that's how I roll.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about in the last few weeks, and I do mention sometimes, is that sometimes with maybe dreams or ideas, which are similar things anyway, which can become goals if you decide that's something I'm really going to target, that we can put it off and put it off.
Yeah.
And actually, if we start today, then we're on our way. Mm-hmm. And there are certainly things in my past where I've thought, I quite fancy doing that. Maybe I'd like to be a yoga teacher, or maybe I'd like to be a homeopath. And then 5 years down the line, I think, or I think, it'll take too long. Just take too long. 5 years down the line, I think, well, actually, if I'd started 5 years ago when I first thought about it, I'd be qualified now.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
I think it's also about teaching and learning about setting reachable goals.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm not all about is New Year's resolutions, because let's face it, we all do it. Right, okay, I'm going to lose a stone by February. I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we don't do it, or we might start it, and then we give ourselves a really hard time if we don't finish it. So goal setting and vision boards and sort of setting out the ideas for New Year is more about realistic and small achievable goals that you can get there, and that's how you do it. Small ways, small steps.
Yes, baby steps.
Baby steps. Absolutely. And what's really important as well, because we all do it, is we say, right, this week I'm going to do this every day, and then we don't do it, and then we give up.
Yeah.
And you have to just remind yourself, okay, I didn't do it this week. Start again next week.
Yeah.
It's mindset. It's all mindset. And it's about learning to change that mindset about not beating yourself up, because we all are really good at it.
Yeah, definitely. And what happens if the following week arrives and the week after that and we still haven't done it? Then what?
Then you have to find ways of getting yourself back on course. So maybe a vision board will help, because it's a big visual prompt to remind you about staying on task.
Yeah.
There's also the possibility that if you're really resistant, maybe it's not the right thing for you.
Yeah, I was wondering that,
if you're saying, why, like, for instance, you wanted to be a yoga teacher, you didn't become it, maybe because you weren't meant to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you really, really wanted to have done it, you would have done it, possibly. It's just a thought, anyway.
Self-belief can be an issue, can't it?
Yes.
And can kick in and stop us from moving towards something, because we think, well, I'm not good enough. I probably wouldn't be any good at that. Though that person's really good at it.
Yes.
I could never be as good as them.
Yeah.
But I think that, like you say, it is achievable things. But do you think that, if we reflect back and say, oh, I really wanted to do that thing, but I haven't done it for 3 weeks, maybe that means that I don't want to do it. So can we then revisit? How do we find the things that we really want to do?
That's a really good question, Amy. That's a really good question. I think we have to be really, really honest with ourselves and realistic.
Yeah.
I know that I'm never going to run a marathon. I know I'm never even going to run down the road. I don't do running.
No, I don't, but I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe that might be something that you can do in a really slow way and build it up, do a few minutes every day. It's just being really honest with ourselves. And I think you get to a certain age, you have to be really brutally honest. Really, do you think, are you going to do it? And what's stopping you from doing it? Fear is wonderful. It's a really very destructive force that we all have within us. And it's about not giving that fear too much ownership on yourself and too much power over you, and telling it to basically do one when you can find it seeping in and almost sabotaging. We do this thing of self-sabotaging. Right, I'm not going to be able to do it, but I'm not a runner, so I'm not going to do it. So you just think, well, what's the point? And it's stopping yourself from spiraling into that negative, bad self-talk.
So what can we say to ourselves when we get like that? What could halt us in those tracks of just putting ourselves down and letting the fear take over? If we want to kick the fear into touch, what could be the thing that could stop us from doing that? What could be the
first thing is awareness, Amy. I think it's being aware of what that voice is. And when I've worked with my students, what I would do, I'd do a visual drawing of your inner critic.
Ooh.
So you got it right in front of you. So that's the first step of thinking, right, okay, who is this person that keeps giving me such a hard time?
Yeah.
Of course, it's you. But
You're sort of gremlin, as it were.
Yeah, that's right. And for me, when I first did this exercise, before I worked with my students, mine was a sergeant major from the army.
Okay.
Who was very shouty and very cruel and really kind of, come on, get up, come on. That kind of voice in my head. And when I actually did this kind of visual picture of this sergeant major, I just thought, I wouldn't speak to a friend like that. I wouldn't speak to a family member like that. Why am I allowing someone, well, it's me, to carry on talking to myself like that? So I think first step is awareness of what it actually is. When I've done this exercise with students, it's often their mothers. They draw their mothers or a parent that's barking at them. But it isn't. It's them that's barking at them. So it's getting it out of your head. Getting it out of your head and getting it out on paper is, to me, the first step of recognising it. And then the word that I used to drive my students mad, and I use it all the time, the way to change mindset is practice.
Yes. Okay.
Every day you practice. When you get that voice coming in that's going, you're not good enough, you haven't done this right, is to practice turning it around. Acknowledge it, it's there, but not giving it any strength or power.
Yeah. There's a. Have you heard of Byron Katie?
That name's real. Yes.
She does something called The Work.
Yes.
And the key phrase of her work, as she's a coach, is it true?
Yeah.
Is it true?
Oh, wow. Yeah, nice.
And she just says it over and over. So if you say, I'm not good, I'm not good enough, is that true?
Yeah.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
And when you sort of just keep just gently saying, but truly, is that really, really true? Well, no, not exactly. No, it's not exactly true. I'm not worthless. I'm not useless. But then it gets you to reflect on where the element of truth is. And perhaps, let's say I've decided I'm going to run a marathon. That's my challenge for the year. I'm going to do that. And you don't do it. You don't train enough. And your sergeant major is saying, "Come on, Claira, get out of bed. It's 6 o'clock. You need to be out on the roads." But you say you're useless, you're rubbish, and if you then say, "Is that true?" Mm-hmm. Is that true? No, no, it's not. I'm not rubbish. Okay, so what is the truth? The truth is, in your heart, you don't really want to be running a marathon.
Yeah,
and so you then get to the bottom of it. Another thing that
that's a really good one, actually. I really like that.
It is great, isn't
nice.
it? And there's another coach I know called Robert Holden, whose work I love, and he asks 3 questions. When people are trying to identify what it is that they want. when they are, I don't really know what I want. Don't know what. Okay, so you say, what do you want? Oh, I don't know. I want to be this, that, or the other. What do you really want? Oh, okay. Then you kind of go down a different level when somebody says, but what do you really want?
Yeah.
I think, what I really want is, to have enough money in the bank and to be in the perfect relationship and to be happy. What do you really, really want? And then that takes you again down to a deeper level, and it gets you to really start thinking about what's true to you.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
It's about being really honest.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And
sometimes
I think
that's difficult.
It is very difficult, and we don't always know the answers. But we also have this great thing that we all do, and I think I'm queen of it. I think I might even have a master's in this of comparing myself to other people and go, wow, they're having such a brilliant life. They can do so much. Of course, that's not the case. Of course, social media doesn't help.
It's a nightmare, isn't it?
Facebook, I call it Facebook.
Yes.
People post all their lovely stuff, or their photographs of their achievements, but we don't know what's really going on.
Yeah.
So with all this thing about, making changes and setting goals, it's about remembering that your road is just right for you.
Yeah. Yes, and also I do believe that, talking about reflecting on what's happened this year, I do think we are exactly where we're meant to be.
Yeah.
And you can take yourself where you want from that point, but just acknowledging where you are, how you got there, and okay, where do I want to go from here? And on that point, we're going to have some more music.
Yay!
Yay, let's go Christmas again. I think we should go Christmas.
Fantastic.
Another king here. Not necessarily Christmas, but certainly a king of music. This will have a bit of Paul McCartney.
Marvellous.
This Life with Amy Deane.
So I'm here in the studio today with a wonderful guest, Claira Lemel, and we are talking about planning your 2020, planning the next decade, and actually doing that creatively with vision boards. Now, Claire, let's just actually say, what is a vision board first? Because some people might not know what it is.
Okay, so a vision board used to be used a lot in business, and it has different roles, really. But the way I teach it and how it's often used in personal development, a vision board is a great big prompt, a reminder of the things that you want to help yourself with throughout the year. So it can have areas about your emotional well-being, it can have areas about your health, career, and each vision board is very, very unique. So, and that's what I always stress in my workshops, because people look at each other's and they go, well, I like theirs. No. This is about what works for you. So yours might be very different from the next person. And so we cut out images from magazines. We have lots of techniques and exercises that can also go on your vision board to help you stay on task. And it's there. It can be as big as you want it to. Some people have massive vision boards. They're like a big old cork board they have in their office.
Yeah, I love that.
And so they can really, it can be really easily changed. You can pull things down that don't serve you anymore. One of my students had a massive cork board she brought to one of my classes, and I never even thought of a cork board, but it's a great idea. But also for some people, they don't want it to be that big. They want it to be private. They want it to be smaller, more accessible. They also might want to take it around with them.
Like me.
Like you.
Yes, because I am going to do Claira's vision board workshop, which I'm really looking forward to. But I'm nomadic at the moment, so a vision board on a piece of paper is just going to become destroyed if that's the way I carry it around. Unless I suppose I could create one, take a photograph and laminate it or something. That could be one way of doing it.
Yeah, that is a possibility.
Yeah. Or I have a little scrapbook. So thinking of doing it in a scrapbook, although I do love, like you've just given me some pictures of some of the vision boards that have been done in your workshops, which are fabulously colourful and really, really different. So one of them has been created in the shape of a sun with all sorts of rays of motivational words coming out of it. And another one is just a mixture of pictures which presumably are relative to that person's goals. Another one looks like a quite sort of naive, sort of like and handwritten. And there's another one which I think is somebody's focusing on their fitness, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they all look like works of art.
They're all very beautiful, and the thing is that my line that I say, and if I got paid every time I said this line, I would be rich, is that we are all creative. Because in my workshops, in my classes I've been running over the years, people always say this to me: I'm not creative.
Yeah.
Everybody is creative.
People say that a lot, don't they?
They do. And they are creative. You could be creative through cooking. You could be creative through interior design, the way you decorate your house, the way you dress yourself. We are all creative. And unfortunately, when we're children, we're creative. We love sticking and cutting and messing around.
And we don't care what it looks like.
Don't care.
Yeah.
And we love it. And we're lost in it. And somewhere along the line, we lose that sense of joy that creativity brings us, and how important it is for us to relax, to process ideas.
Be in the moment.
Be in the moment. Hallelujah. We want to be in the moment, which is what it's all about. It's so important. So it's also, with creativity, it can be a way of our self-conscious telling us something. It can be a way of revealing something that maybe is in the back of our heads that we're just not listening, and it can come out through our creativity. Really, really important. So that's the joy of having creative time that we don't allow ourselves for. I get people say, well, I love to be creative, but it's so indulgent. I haven't got the time. Of course you've got the time. You need to find the time.
Got to allow the time.
Allow the time. Yeah. You always have to timetable it.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. And I think that's the problem, because otherwise we just get busy with our everyday lives. And then, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, oh, well, I just didn't have time. No, you didn't make time.
Yeah. And there's a condition that I think some people have, and I have it sometimes. It's called busyitis. And we all hear it when people go, I'm so busy at the moment. I can't see with them. I can't do this. I'm so busy. Well, maybe they are quite busy. But it's really important that the busyitis condition is treated with time out.
Yeah.
For mindfulness, peace, creativity, whatever that comes to.
So says Dr. Claira. So true. And Robert Holden talks about this, actually. And he talks about our manic society.
Yes, lovely. Yes, that's a great line.
The idea that we feel that we should be busy.
Yes.
And the whole use of the word should anyway is judgmental and puts you under pressure. So if we're not busy, we think there's something wrong with us.
Yes.
And also what is it that people say when they greet people? They say, hi, how are you? You busy?
Yeah.
And as if you're not, it's a problem. And I do like sometimes saying to people, oh, no, not really. Oh, dear.
That's really honest, Amy. I'm really glad that you do that, because people find that really difficult. No, I'm not actually. I'm quite. Things a bit quiet.
It's like saying, actually, I'm really ill.
yeah.
Do people go, oh, no. Oh, my God. Oh, can I help?
Yeah. No, it takes a lot of courage, actually, to go, no, we're not very busy at the moment. Because I think people associate busyness with being popular.
Oh, yeah, being popular and being valid.
Yeah. And important.
Yes, very true.
Yeah,
you're not happy unless you're busy.
Absolutely. And look what it's doing to us as people. It's driving us crazy, literally.
Yeah, and we don't allow time or make time for the things that could be more regenerative. And allow us to be reflective and allow us to relax.
Yeah.
People say, oh, I don't have time for all that. I don't have time for a holiday. I'm far too important and busy.
Yes. But we all know that really, I think it's a sort of, I've done it myself. I have done it myself. I know I've done it myself and I used to do it more when I was much younger. It would be like, I'm really, really busy at the moment. Really, 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 really busy. Sorry, I might have an opening to meet up with you in a few weeks' time. And, I know that's just not true. I could see that person within a few days, but I have to play this game. But I stopped doing it. I stopped doing it about 20 years ago. There came a point where I went, I'm not doing this anymore. more, and it's actually quite freeing.
Yeah.
It's quite freeing playing this game of the busyitis. Who's got busyitis?
So I think the challenge is then, perhaps, for people who are thinking about how they're going to arrange their lives with the coming new year and new decade, is to allow yourself to not be busy at some point during your week. And maybe even allow yourself to be still. You know, when I do funeral services, there's often a pause during the service where we just listen to music and everybody's quiet and listens to their own thoughts and maybe sends best wishes. And people get really uncomfortable with it. So they'll say, when I'm in meetings sometimes, they'll say, oh yeah, but we don't have it for very long because people get uncomfortable and twitchy. But because we're so unused to just being. You know, just being our own thoughts, scared of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's really interesting that's the case. And I must admit, I have that problem sometimes. Not so much. I think that's one of the joys of getting older is I don't care quite so much if there's pauses in conversation.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I had to jump in because you've got to be talking all the time because it's really uncomfortable. And rather than just enjoying being with someone and the presence of someone, you know, you don't have to talk all the time.
Well, we fill our worlds with sound, with noise, don't we?
Yeah.
And I do like that because I love the radio and I do listen to the radio all the time, and I listen to lots of different shows depending on what mood I'm in and what I'm doing at the time. But I also know that some people get creative in the shower or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My creative space is in the car with the radio off. And I love listening to the radio in the car. But if I switch it off, immediately my mind sort of starts talking to itself.
Yes.
And, you know, that sort of, oh, what about this? What about that? And all these ideas come about. And I have actually used my phone to, just make a note, a voice memo. I know you're not supposed to. I didn't say that, actually. I don't do that. I don't touch my phone in the car, ever. But I do try. I do actually. Sometimes I repeat it over and over again. Or walking, if I'm walking a dog, then often my thoughts go into that as well. And I do quite like to listen to the odd radio show while I'm walking. But I think the quiet time. Like I said, I'm going to take up running.
Yes.
And somebody said to me, "Do you like to listen to music while you're running?" Well, I have no idea. I've never run in my life. But oh yeah, you know, you want to get your playlist. Okay, that's quite good for motivation for your rhythm and everything. But on the other hand, quite like the whole sort of creative thinking thing. Bit like, do you remember that film with who's the Australian actor? What Women Want.
Oh, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Do you remember that film?
I do, and
he's walking through the park and all these women start running towards him and all their thoughts are going on in their heads and it's like this cacophony of sound. Yeah. Anyway, do you know what? Rambling on. I'm just going to put another tune on for a minute, Claire, and then we'll come back and continue this fabulous conversation. Maybe we should stay for another 2 hours because I think we've got plenty to talk about.
We've got plenty to say, haven't we, Amy?
We'd be very hungry by then because I forgot to buy mince pies. Okay, here we go. Let's have a bit of... Oh, I think this is good because I think this is what vision boards are all about, a little bit of magic. It's a kind of magic. Blimey, that was a bit loud. Don't know what happened there. So if we've talked about what a vision board is, what actually happens? How do we get started with that? You know, what happens in your workshop?
Right. Okay. So right at the beginning, all the way through, it's about looking at the areas that you want some change or you want to develop. And I will be then teaching different techniques about how you figure that out. Because you can come in and go, I don't know what I want to change. So within the group and within, you know, the exercises I'll get you to do, which are all really creative, really fun, you then start thinking, oh, okay, maybe I want to go in this area or I want to go in that area. So there'll be all sorts of ways of, and time, actually. It's about time. It's allowing yourself time to think, okay, I've got a new year ahead. What is it that really needs changing? What do I want? And so it's allowing yourself to get those ideas out of your head and on paper. And sometimes just cutting things out of magazines. I know it sounds really simple, but you look at magazines, for instance, and you see images and colours, and you just start cutting more and more things. And then before you know it, you might actually have an idea of what you want. So talking to other people within the group as well helps, because everyone puts in ideas. And sometimes someone can say, right, I want to do this. And you might think, actually, do you know what? I really like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So it's you trigger each other off with ideas and thoughts, really. So what you're hoping at the end of the 4-hour session is that you have a really much clearer idea of what steps you need to take about what you want for the new year. Some people will finish it and they'll have a beautiful vision board. It'll look gorgeous, it'll look colourful. They've gone really quick and they've got it ready to go up on their wall or to go wherever they want. Other people will spend the whole afternoon cutting things out, getting images, writing ideas down, and they'll have no vision board finished. That is also totally okay, because that is also part of the process.
Yeah.
So then they go away and then they may put it together in their own time. But what's important is they've spent 4 hours with me, that I've given them the ideas and the sort of prompts to figure it out and take it away with them. I mean, last year I did a vision board workshop, and then I did a follow-up.
That's
a month
a good
later.
idea.
Yeah.
Wow, a month later.
Yeah, a month later.
Oh, interesting.
And so that was really interesting, because people could then come back. It keeps you also motivated to finish it and to work with it and to see where you're going with it. And I also want to stress, it's not like homework. If you spent the afternoon with me and we talk about ideas and we come up with all sorts of lovely exercises, and that's all you do, that's fine too. Yeah. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be the sergeant major that I say that I have as my inner voice. I don't work like that. The workshops are going to be very, very relaxed. We have music in the background. It's good fun, lots of talk, lots of fun, lots of laughter, which is what it's all about. That's how you can really relax and think about what you want.
Yeah. And that whole sort of putting it on paper thing, what difference do you think that makes as opposed to kind of having an idea in your head, never writing it down, never properly visualising it, if you like, but just kind of vaguely, this is the thing that I'm going to aim for?
Well, I think the word vague is the word I'm going to pick up. It's really easy that idea that you've got to float around in your head.
Yeah.
And to be lost in other thoughts. When you put it on paper, it's more solid. You can see it.
Yeah.
You've written it down. And if you put it up on a wall somewhere, it just reminds you, oh, okay, I said I was going to do this.
Yeah.
So it might be full of Post-it notes. Maybe that might be the way you go with your vision board. It's full of Post-it notes, but it's just full of ideas. That's fine as well. And I think the ideas you've had and you might put on your vision board, when you put it out in front of you, you might go, hang on a minute, I've had this idea, but I actually don't want to do it. I don't think it's right for me. Then you get rid of it. If it doesn't serve
you actually see it in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a thought of something is all very well and good, but once it's out there, you just think, no, that's actually not quite right for me. So disregard, just throw it away and start again and be open to more ideas coming in.
Because I suppose on the other end of that spectrum is realising that there is something that you really, really want that you've been kind of hiding from, perhaps, or sort of actually, do you know what? That really excites me.
Yes, yeah.
And it might have come out of nowhere, or it's kind of been floating around in your head. But when you actually put it down in front of you, you think, yeah, do you know what? Genuinely, if I could achieve that, that would be the best thing ever.
Yes.
Yeah. And allowing yourself to believe that could be that is a possibility.
Absolutely.
Or to know that it's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think even if nothing else, with my workshops, it reminds people to be creative. So it's also part of being allowing yourself to be creative. So what happens in some of the workshops I've done is on their vision board, it actually says, be more creative.
Yeah.
Allow yourself and timetable yourself an evening or an afternoon of where you want to do some art, or you want to do something creative, or to do a creative class. Learning is a big part of personal development.
Yeah.
Always keep learning. Always challenge yourself.
Do you know, recently I went off for a weekend on my own to Lyme Regis. Just there was a weekend I wasn't house sitting, and I could just take off for the weekend, and I hadn't actually decided where I was going to go, but then I suddenly thought, do you know what, I've said this, I heard myself saying this so many times, I'd love to go to Lyme Regis. I'm going to do that one day. I'd love to go and walk along the beach and look for fossils. And I was looking at going away to different parts, like maybe up to Oxfordshire or something, which is closer. I thought, why don't I go and do something that I've actually said that I want to do?
Yes, yeah.
So those things that are maybe on our bucket list, people say, I'm going to put that on my wish list, on my bucket list. Well, how about getting that list out,
yes,
and doing it?
Absolutely.
Rather than, don't put it on the never.
Yes.
When are you going to do it? Have a think about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Here's an idea I've had. That's something I've always wanted to do. Well, why don't you do it? So let's say, that it might be that there's a place in the world that you want to visit.
Yeah. Okay.
First question. What do you need to do in order to get there?
Yes.
Okay. First thing, of course, is I need to find out, not raise money, but find out how much it would cost me.
Yeah.
And then make a plan to raise the money so that you've got the money. Then you can go and take a look at when in your diary you can fit it in and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, travel is a big part of vision boards, actually. Yeah. And when we talk about SMART goals, about being specific, when someone says, I want to travel more, okay, well, where?
Yes.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, be clear.
Be clear. Really be clear. And I often have brochures, so people cut out pictures of places they want to go to, and they're very colourful, and they stand out. And it also it's quite interesting. On my vision board, which it's still there, and I still haven't got there, but I do intend to go there, is Copenhagen.
Oh, I want to go to Copenhagen.
Hey, me and you, Amy, let's just go there. Let's do it. It's just somewhere I really like to go.
Yeah, me too.
And I haven't gone there yet. Yeah. But it doesn't mean to say that I won't. And I've got a lovely image of Copenhagen and what I'm drawn to and what that place to me is all about. And I don't know why, but it doesn't matter what the why is. That's somewhere I would like to go. And so it's about putting that out there on the vision board and putting that out there to other people. Sometimes when you talk to other people as well, things happen, connections happen, and magic happens.
Yeah, just like the song says.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's what was I going to say now? I've completely forgot what I was going to say now. I bought a book recently because I do sometimes think, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't write it down anywhere. And I bought a book called My Future Listography.
Oh, yes.
So it asks you all sorts of questions. And it could be something as basic as films that I want to watch. Yeah. Or it could be countries that I want to visit, skills that I want to acquire, or all sorts of things like that. And it actually gets you to start thinking, I don't know, I've never asked myself that before. I'm going to tell you about another book that I have recently purchase, which is going to be my diary for next year. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I think we need to play another song.
Oh, great.
Break it up.
Marvellous.
And just before we get to the news, actually, I'll tell you very quickly before I put the song on about this diary that I've got, which is it's called the Trig Life Mapper.
Ooh.
I'm going to show it to you so we can have a little talk about that when we come back on.
Okay.
So, next song, I'm going to go Christmas again.
Oh, let's just do it.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Coldplay, Christmas
Yay.
Lights. Here we go.